There's a range of factors involved here, and it is a smaller number in terms of children, and you've indicated this includes young women and young girls who are brought in as brides and so forth, and as sexual slaves. And there has been a number of these people who have been successfully rescued by the Mozambican and Rwandan and Salmon forces over the last few years.
A fifth person has been added to the case of 4 individuals arrested in connection with the 2021 July unrest in South Africa. The 5 alleged to have posted inciting messages on a WhatsApp chat group named Zuma Real Activist 100%. Authorities believe these messages contributed to the public violence and looting of retail stores in the Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal provinces at the time. The unrest was to protest against the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. The accused appeared briefly at the Roodepoort Magistrates Court in Johannesburg. They face charges of conspiracy to commit public violence and 2 counts of incitement to commit public violence. One of the accused, Bohadi Mapisa, is a member of Zuma's MK party. She insists she's innocent.
I feel that there's a lot of injustice that is going on when the public violence that I'm accused of started. I was at work. I am a nurse by profession. Even if they want, they can go and check my register. I have signed in and out of work. So I do not know why am I charged of something that I did not do. I know nothing of this. Maybe my sin is that I am a fan of my president, Jacob Zuma.
Advocacy group Wise for Africa has expressed frustration over the South African government's failure to adequately support victims of gender-based violence. This follows the release of a report by the Gauteng provincial government, which states that only 23% of the province's police stations have dedicated toilets for those reporting GBV incidents. Director of Wise for Africa and GBV activist advocate Brenda Madumise says failing to provide victims with the necessary private facilities could hamper reporting.
We fought for separate rooms so that you have the dignity and the comfort and the safety that you can talk about what has happened to you. Second to that, remember we've got the rape kit tests that are sent to the police station because you have the SDS units that are supposed to come in and administer that test to you. Are you going to administer it in front of everybody else in that private room? Or do you have a separate ablution facilities where I can walk in and do what I'm supposed to do? So we can't dismiss the importance of having a toilet because it's about when I walk in and I'm going to report a rape, that a test that is going to be administered can be administered in a facility, an ablution facility that is private, and I can do so.
A military helicopter from the African Union peacekeeping mission in Somalia crashed at the airport in the capital Mogadishu and was engulfed in flames yesterday. The helicopter from the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia was carrying 8 personnel when it crashed during landing. It was not immediately clear whether there were casualties. AUSOM has more than 11,000 personnel in Somalia to help the country's military counter Islamist group Al-Shabaab. And finally, the Israeli foreign minister says any opportunity to free the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza should not be missed. Gideon Saar's comments come after US President Donald Trump said Israel had agreed to finalize a deal on hostage releases and a 60-day ceasefire. There are 50 hostages remaining in captivity in the Gaza Strip, 49 of whom had been abducted on the 7th of October in 2023 and the other hostage captured earlier. Based on intelligence, the Israeli Defense Force has concluded that at least 27 of the remaining hostages are dead. The BBC's Wairi Davies reports on the latest ceasefire.
Most people in Israel will want to see that this 60-day ceasefire deal does include the release of most, if not all, of the remaining hostages being held in Gaza. For the Hamas Palestinian delegations, the key thing is going to be some sort of long-term ceasefire, long-term peace deal guaranteed by the Americans that goes beyond the 60-day ceasefire agreement, and also a partial withdrawal of Israeli troops from parts of Gaza.
Recapping the top story this hour, peers Pijo from International Crisis Group says kidnappings for ransom are on the rise. In Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province, aid agencies says the situation continues to deteriorate, with fresh reports revealing a sharp rise in child abductions and mass displacement. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headline, SASCOC appoints independent auditors to probe ASA President James Moloi. And Namibian government has injected more funds to ensure the smooth running of the African Union Sports Council Region 5 games. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
Thanks to Jolani Tulongwepe with a full news update and Figile Nwati from our sport desk. Good afternoon, it's Wednesday. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa, the African Perspective, where we meet to look at the latest in business news and sport. I am Thabiso Lehoko, standing in for Tami Ngubeni. We are broadcasting live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV, OWK channel 802 and on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Google and Apple Play stores. Join in the conversation by finding us on X at Channel Africa #1, Facebook at Channel Africa, Instagram at Channel Africa 1. You can also subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. You can send us your stories to newsroom at channelafrica.co.za, or alternatively, you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +2763 406 9126. That number again, it's a +2763 406 9126. In your comments, please tell us in which country you are in. If you have missed any of our interviews, you can find them on www.channelafrica.co.za. Click on programming, look for Africa in Business, and you can find a podcast of whatever you have missed. Good afternoon.
African enterprise meets global opportunity. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
South Africa's Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, along with Deputy Minister Nongceba Mhlaudi, is currently presenting the Statistics South Africa budget vote to Parliament. This follows a series of community outreach engagements by government officials, senior Stats SA executives, local councillors and community leaders in the lead-up to today's tabling. Channel Africa business reporter Innocent Simosa is tracking the developments, and he filed this report.
The budget comes at a time when Stats SA is facing an ongoing funding shortfalls, which have impacted its ability to carry out large-scale surveys like the population census and quarterly labor force survey. Limited resources also threaten data quality and coverage. Khumbudzo Ntshavheni is the minister in the presidency.
And therefore, it is my honor to table the budget vote 14, Statistics South Africa. The MTF allocation is 2.77 billion in 2025-2026 and 2.91 billion in 2026-2027 and 3.04 billion in 2027-2028 financial years, which is an average growth of a rate of 4.7%. The main divisions in vote 14 are administration, 742 million, Economic statistics, 310.5 million. Population and social statistics, 307.7 million. Methodology and statistical infrastructure, 166.1 million. Statistical support and informatics, 306.7. Statistical operations and provincial coordination, 889.2. South African National Statistics System, 48.4 million.
She urged members of parliament to support the budget.
We request Parliament to support the budget vote 14 of Statistics South Africa. Honourable members, it is important to support this budget vote because we are navigating a path in a world that is undergoing rapid and profound changes. And this is equally true in the realm of statistics. Investing in and promoting this vital pillar of our national life. Official statistics are not just tools. They are public goods.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister Nomcebo Mhlauli noted some challenges facing the department.
The department continues to face significant vacancy pressures due to physical constraint. Honourable members, the committee have raised several key concerns and its deliberations. Firstly, the high vacancy rate, the loss of skilled personnel to various domestic and international organizations. Urge the department to have a timely process of filling executive management and specialist vacancies. Secondly, the committee is concerned about the department's inability to meet equity targets, particularly regarding the representation of persons with disabilities and women in senior level roles. This is not only a compliance issue, but also a transformative imperative aligned with the NDP's goals. Thirdly, the committee noted the department's shortfall of approximately 300 million, which hinders its ability to fully implement its strategic priorities.
The budget debate is scheduled to take place later this evening. For Channel Africa News, I am Innocent Samosa in Johannesburg.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Cette peur d'un point de non-retour nucléaire suffit-elle selon vous à légitimer une telle offensive, monsieur Talazi?
Absolument pas du tout. Cela fait plus de 30 ans que l'Israël crie haut et fort sur les toits, où il veut se faire entendre que l'Iran serait à 1 an pour obtenir l'arme nucléaire. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 6 mois, parfois l'Iran serait à 2 semaines pour obtenir son arme nucléaire. Et curieusement, jusqu'à ce jour, il n'y a toujours aucune preuve que l'Iran a obtenu cette arme nucléaire en dépit des déclarations d'Israël et de certaines puissances parfois.
Vue d'Afrique, du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Energy and water experts from the SADC region have gathered in Harare, Zimbabwe to address the challenges in electricity production and improve water management across the region. Electricity shortages plague the entire region, largely due to climate change-induced droughts severely impacting power generation. Senior government officials and ministers responsible for energy and water are discussing strategies to unlock access to reliable, affordable and sustainable energy, which is crucial for powering economies. John Kasim filed this report.
The Southern African Development Community, SADC, is convening the joint meeting of the committees of ministers responsible for energy and responsible for water in Harare this week. This ministerial meeting, which aims to strengthen regional collaboration and assess progress on key initiatives in the energy and water sectors, started Monday with senior officials meeting for the next 4 days. The joint ministerial session will coincide with the 30th anniversary of the Southern African Power Tool, established by a council decision in August 1995. Meanwhile, these meetings are taking place at a time when energy production is seriously being affected by climate change and a number of other factors leading to load shedding in most cases. Zambia and Zimbabwe are some of the worst affected members owing to reduced water levels in Lake Kariba, leading to a 25% production surge. The high-level delegates are also expected to review implementation progress of the Mission 300 funded by the World Bank and the African Development Bank. The project is aimed at providing energy to 600 million people, starting with 300 million by 2030. Discussions of the development and regulations of the petroleum and gas subsectors will also be key this week. Meanwhile, the committee is expected to adopt emerging technologies such as green hydrogen and smart grids, as well as recommendations from the regional stakeholders dialogue on a just energy transition framework for the SADC region. In water, progress on regional and transboundary water projects and implemented by the river basin organizations and shared water institutions will be assessed together with the groundwater and livelihood grant projects. One of the co-chairpersons of the senior officials meetings on water, Professor Obejiri, who is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture and Water, had this to say.
Most of our energy is derived from hydropower, so the link between energy and water is inevitable. For water, it goes beyond just the energy resource that we must have. It also is a direct response to climate change and variability. Obviously, the issue of climate change is with us for the longest time. Southern Africa being a direct, a direct impacted region, we know that we will have 10% less water. We will have 10%, a 2% increase in temperature, meaning more droughts. So looking at the water issues as affected by climate change is critical.
Professor Jiri added.
We do have, specifically for this meeting, we look at how we can harness water resources to drive our agriculture, how we can harness water to drive our energy sector. So looking at the Great Inga project, looking at the Zambezi and Limpopo basin and other basins that we have in the region, in the SADC region, is critical to see how much water we can harvest for both agriculture and also for energy. So this meeting is very, very critical for us in the region as we look at how we can harness water for agriculture and also for energy generation.
John Kasim in Harare, Zimbabwe for Channel Africa News.
Good afternoon. If you've just tuned in, welcome to it. My name is Thabiso. Lehoko. I'm standing in for Tami Ngubeni, and this is Africa in Business. We are broadcasting live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV, OWK channel 802, on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on Google and Apple Play stores. Join in as a conversation on Channel Africa. It's at Channel Africa numerical 1. That's on X, Facebook at Channel Africa, Instagram at Channel Africa 1. You can also subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. You can send us your stories to newsroom at channelafrica.co.za, or alternatively, you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +27 633 406 9126. That number again is a +27 633 406 9126. In your comments, please tell us in which country you are in. If you have missed any of our interviews, you can find them on www.channelafrica.co.za. Click on programming, look for African Business, and you can find a podcast of whatever you have missed. This is Channel Africa.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Amy Pope, Director General of the International Organization for Migration, says investing in the future of communities that are most likely to migrate to other countries is more effective than spending money on reinforcing border security. Pope was speaking to UN News' Matt Wells on the sidelines of the UN's Fourth International Conference on Financing for Development.
There are two angles that we have when we come to a conference like this one. First of all is that when we look at the number of people who are on the move, increasingly people are on the move because of development issues, right? Of course, there are those who are moving because of war, persecution, or conflict, but increasingly the number of people who are moving because of the impacts of climate on their communities or their livelihoods or their homes or poverty or lack of job opportunities is at the heart of why people are moving. So if we want to end irregular migration, creating development solutions is really at the heart of it. The flip side of it, though, and the World Bank has done incredible research on the issue, is that migration can be a catalyst for development. It's a catalyst for the migrant herself or himself, of course, in terms of being able to earn more money or being able to get access to job market. But it also fuels development in the country the migrant is coming from and the country where the migrant has gone to work.
What do migrants need from this conference themselves in practical terms that's going to improve their lives while also not adding to the economic burdens of host countries?
There are a couple of places where I think there could be real improvements. First and foremost, we know that remittances are driving economic development in low and middle income countries. In fact, more than $700 billion of remittances went into low and middle income countries. And so finding ways for remittances to go back with lower transaction fees, so more of the money is getting into those communities, and then partnering with communities, partnering with local governments so that remittances can actually fuel more systematic development is absolutely key. So that's one. And then thinking about return migration in a way that fuels development. So if somebody has been living and working elsewhere in the world, they've often learned new skills or new languages, new ways of doing things, new technology. Ensuring that transfer of knowledge back to their home communities is critical.
So Syria is a good case in point in that respect, isn't it?
Absolutely. And in fact, in Syria, we saw the out-migration of many professionals with high levels of education, high levels of skill. And that is what Syria is going to need to rebuild. We're going to need to have people with know-how, whether it's in construction or manufacturing, in medicine, in education, to go back and rebuild the country. And so marrying the development and recovery objectives with the return objectives is key.
You mentioned that remittances are a huge benefit, but migrants do need investment and support on many levels. How do you convince skeptical countries who say that they just can't afford the cost?
We see that migration around the world is enabling communities to do more, and we see it in every part of the world. What we encourage governments to do is to create policies that enable and facilitate safe and legal migration. Because there are two sides to this. When people are coming irregularly, they're more likely to be exploited, they're more likely to be underpaid, which thereby depresses wages for national workers. It ultimately leads to a host of ills that no country can afford right now. So ultimately, this is not a question of what countries can afford. It should be what countries can do to improve outcomes for their own people.
And what other concrete steps or commitments is IOM hoping to secure here in Sevilla?
Well, number one, getting migration into the conversation is the most important, and taking it out of the purely reactive humanitarian space is critical, because we know that if you get to a point where a migrant is on a boat heading across the Mediterranean, uncertain of whether they're going to make it, owing lots of money to smugglers or traffickers along the way, we have completely failed. So our goal is to make sure that we have governments thinking, talking, acting, using migration as a tool for development from the very beginning. So that's first. And then there are a whole host of very concrete objectives that we'd like to see. Lower remittance fees being one of them. Diaspora bonds could be another one. Thinking proactively about how we anticipate the impacts of climate on vulnerable communities so that people aren't forced to move is another.
So finally, the migration issue in the United States is very thorny, it's very political. What would you be saying to the US if they were here this week, which of course they're not?
I would say that investing in development that is focusing on communities who are most likely to out-migrate is a much better investment than just investing at your border. Once somebody has paid a smuggler, come all the way up, gotten into the border, across the border and into the United States, it is far more expensive, far more labor intensive, far more traumatic for the communities they've lived in and the migrant, him or herself, than it would be to come up with solutions where migrants are coming from or in the countries that they first go to. So this is good value for money. It's not just about better development outcomes.
That was Amy Pope, Director General of the International Organization for Migration, speaking to UN News' Matt Wells.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
The manufacturing sector in South Africa has continued to show signs of strains. This is according to the ABSA Purchasing Managers Index. The headline PMI remained in contractionary territory for the 8th consecutive month. The index, which measures the health of the sector, increased by 5.4 points to 48.5 index points in June. Although the reading is still in negative territory below the 50-point mark, the gauge showed marginal improvement in June. Nothando Makutulela has more.
That business activity declined in the same period, while sales orders increased due to recovering domestic demand, although export volumes remain near the lowest levels seen this year. ABSA says the June PMI results suggest that South Africa's manufacturing sector may be turning a corner with firmer demand and easing cost pressures, laying the groundwork for recovery. However, output remains weak and structural logistical challenges persist.
The PMI did increase somewhat to 48.5 in June, regardless of the increase below that 50 neutral mark, which separates an expansion from a contraction. This is for now the 8th consecutive month, but we think that this is still encouraging, given that the PMI, the current level, is at its second highest in 2025. So there's some improvement there as far as, manufacturing sentiment is concerned. And then if you look at the underlying data in terms of what led to sort of the increase that we saw in June, I think the biggest one was the new sales orders sub-index. So that rose by quite a bit to 46.1 in June. And I think that's a big signal that there's some recovery in demand. And I think most of that demand, increase is coming from the domestic environment.
The purchasing price index fell by 2.3 points to 58.1 due to a stronger rand and lower diesel prices at the start of June.
Continued to sort of ease in June, and I think that's a positive for the sector. And I think this is due to the rand being relatively stronger in June compared to May, and also we did also have those fuel price cuts coming in June. So I think that those are part of the things that led to continued deterioration in the price index. And then in terms of Brent crude oil prices, as much as they were higher in June compared to May, but I think the decline that you saw in diesel prices at the beginning of June likely helped that index.
ABSA says the index tracking expected business conditions in 6 months' time was unchanged at 62.5, maintaining the highest level since the end of 2024. Nothando Magudulela, SABC News, Johannesburg.
It's time now to cross to Buntle Headbush, who's standing by with the financial indicators. Buntle.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Thabiso, and a very good afternoon to our listeners. In our final look at the indicators this afternoon, $1 is trading at 17 Rand 62 in South Africa. In Botswana, it's trading at 13 Pula 16. In Namibia, 17 Namibian dollars 62. The Zambian kwacha is trading at 23 kwacha 85. In Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 58. In Ethiopia at 136 birr 08, Uganda 3,575 shilling, and in Tanzania it's at 2,621 shilling. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,534 naira. In Egypt, the dollar is trading at 49 Egyptian pound 46. In Tunisia, it's trading at 2 dinar 88. In Algeria, 128 dinar 96. In Morocco, the dollar will cost you 8 dirham 95. In Angola, it's trading at 912 kwanza, while the Congolese franc is trading at 2,859 to the dollar this afternoon. Now for a look at our commodities, gold is trading at $3,352 and platinum at $1,351 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $67.77 a barrel. And those are your indicators. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Buntle Headbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Buntle Headbush. Fikile Nwati standing by with the business of sport.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And thank you. In our business of sport, we begin with sports in the Council Region 5 games in Namibia. The government of Namibia has made $7 million available to ensure the smooth running of the African Union Sports Council Region 5 games, which kicks off this week. The head of the subcommittee on ceremonies and entertainment, Isaac Hamata, says they will have 13 ceremonies during the games, starting with the opening ceremony at Independence Stadium, which will be graced by President Netumbo Nandi Ndwaita. Hamata says the event organizers are grateful for the government support. He says part of the money is being used for the infrastructure improvement. He further says the Games Village, also supported by the government, will house both athletes and officials at the University of Namibia. Swakopmund will host swimming and athletics, with the swimming pool needing renovations, while the track and field events will take place at the Vineta Stadium. In football news, German footballer Leroy Sané left the Bayern Munich camp to complete his move to Galatasaray in the Turkish Super League, having spent 5 years in the Bundesliga under various coaches. Sané's transfer value has fluctuated throughout his career. Initially, he joined Bayern Munich from Manchester City for a fee that could rise to $71 million. However, his current market value is around $38 million. He is moving to Galatasaray as a free agent after his contract with Bayern Munich expired. Munich initially paid around $53 million for Sané, with potential add-on that could have raised the fee to $71 million. The move to the Galatasaray will be a lucrative one for the 29-year-old Sané, but he admits it was never an easy decision to leave Bayern.
Of course it's tough. I played 5 years for this team. It's a long time. It wasn't just like 2 years. At the end, of course, we all tried our best to achieve the most. It didn't happen, but I think the club is still there. Achieved already a lot, and they will achieve even more. And I think just how the ground pace is right now, it looks really good. So I just only wish the best to Vinny and the team because they deserve it.
And South Africa's only national multi-coded sporting body, SASCOC President Barry Hendricks, has confirmed that an independent auditing firm will investigate allegations of irregular credit card spending by the Athletics South Africa's President James Moloi. The investigation follows ASA's appearance before the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture last week, where concerns were raised about Moloi's use of Federation's credit card between December 2022 and January 2023. Hendrik also revealed that he has met with the minister to discuss these matters and is now awaiting the findings of the audit. He emphasized that ASA must resolve these issues to regain the confidence of potential sponsors.
Now, this is not the first time that credit card issues have come up and cropped up. I remember even in cricket at one stage where there was an issue of overuse of credit cards. So this is not something new to sport. What I don't want to happen is that we now say that based on lack of evidence, whether this was indeed a misuse of the credit card or not. So my position is very clear, and what SASCOC is doing now is we've asked one of our independent external auditing companies to look into the matter for us and to advise us. Now they can advise us on several aspects: misuse, abuse, and also looking at whether Athletics South Africa have the policies in place.
Hendricks clarified that while Athletics South Africa is accountable to World Athletics, it is still required to adhere to SASCOC governance structures and regulations.
ASA reports to the International Athletics Body.
Okay, World Athletics.
Yeah, so that is the line that Athletics has. But because they are now also linked to SASCOC, they have to follow SASCOC's rules and regulations as well. So SASCOC has the power to suspend its members. SASCOC does not have the power to suspend the individual members. We can make recommendations based on our investigations, but no one can suspend a democratically elected president of any body. And if we do, the international body will step in and tell us what our place is.
Let's end with golf news. The RNA is adopting a last chance qualifier to pit a maximum of 12 players in a playoff for a final spot in the 2026 Open Championship next year. The total prize money and a pot for the showpiece event at the Royal Troon has increased to $17 million, up by $500,000 from the 2023 edition at the Royal Liverpool. The winner's share of the funds are also increased. Xander Schauffele not only took home the claret jug, but also a $3.1 million paycheck. Brian Harman, the winner 12 months earlier, took $3 million. Such is the case with prize money. There appears to be an onus on the sports governing bodies to increase the payout each year. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fide Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. African enterprise meets global opportunity. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
Thanks, Figile. And once again, good afternoon. We are coming live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV OWK channel 802 on OpenView on channel 628. And you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app available on the Google and Apple Play stores. Join in the conversation by finding us on X at Channel Africa numerical 1, Facebook at Channel Africa, Instagram, Channel Africa 1. You can also subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. You can send us your stories to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Or alternatively, you can call us on +2711 714 4459. You can also send your comments and voice notes to +276 3406 9126. In your comments, please tell us in which country you are in. If you've missed any of our interviews, you can find them on www.channelafrica.co.za. Click on the programming, look for Africa in Business, and you can find a podcast of whatever you have missed.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
On to this now. Solidaridad, in partnership with Heineken Africa Foundation and various organizations, has launched a project promoting regenerative agriculture for sustainable livelihoods in Mozambique. General Manager at Heineken Africa Foundation, Edwin Mukak, says that this project is part of their mission to support Africa's smallholder farmer communities. 4,000 small-scale farmers are set to benefit from the $1.7 million initiative over the next 3 years. For more on this, we are now joined on the line by Francisco Nali, Country Manager at Solidaridad. Good afternoon, Francisco.
Good afternoon. This is Francisco Nyanali. I'm the Country Manager for Solidaridad based in Maputo, Mozambique. I'm glad to really participate in this important channel.
We are happy to have you on board. Now, before I start with the first question, I'd like you to please paint us a picture of how farming is faring in Mozambique.
Well, the farming in Mozambique, as you all know, Mozambique agriculture sector is crucial for the country economy. And of course, the food security faces a major threat from the climate change. And smallholder farmers, particularly women and youth, are most at risk due to the lack of knowledge, resources, and access to markets. And of course, we believe that agriculture has a huge potential to change the scenario in Mozambique. And this program aims to improve the climate resilience of about 4,000 smallholder farmers in Buani district in Maputo province, with focus of empowering at least 60% of women and 30% of youths. We also expect to benefit or impact about 20,000 community members indirectly. This program will achieve this promoting regenerative agriculture practice by improving the soil health and crop yields. Of course, there is also access to markets that will be strengthened through cooperatives. In Mozambique, we have quite weak cooperatives, and our aim is really to strengthen those cooperatives and make them more functional and make sure that they are there to serve the other members of the group. We know that globally, if we look at the, Western countries, they really manage to grow through, associations, cooperatives, and work together. And we believe in that. And that's the reason why we are committed to support those cooperatives and make sure that they are really functional businesses.
Let me come in there because you've just given me some statistics. 60% women, 30% youth. These are the focus area insofar as the initiative is concerned. Why these demographics are your key focus?
Well, we know that the women have been, and youth, of course, are part of the disadvantaged groups in society. And Solidaridad aims to address this issue and make sure that there is this balance. The men's in general are the most benefited in the community level. So we want to balance that and make sure that there is a gender balance as well as the include more youths into the agriculture sector. We know that youths are not really interested in agriculture. They find it a bit boring. So what we are trying to do is to bring more technologies for them and make sure that the agriculture is more technology driven, is more effective, more productive. And we believe that by introducing these kind of elements, these components, it will attract more the youths, and that's what we are seeing in this project,
Expatiate more on why regenerative agriculture.
Well, regenerative agriculture, this is an important concept in the sense that we want to address the issue of climate change, globally, we are seeing the effects. This is no longer something that we're not seeing. We are seeing on a daily basis the temperatures are increasing drastically. We are having events of flooding, droughts, and so on. So there is a need, there is a call of, the farmers also be part of this process by managing properly the resources that the God gave them, which is the soil. This is a way to address the issue by, sequestrating more carbon. They'll be able to do that. And so agriculture practices like good agriculture practices like crop rotation, incorporating more residuals, crop in the soils to give a better structure. It of course will give them better yields and more productivity. We also focus on composting production, make sure that the farmers are really producing in a sustainable way. Fun enough, if we look at the Western countries, they want to go back now to say, well, it's time. Agricultural revolution or green revolution globally, they advance so fast in terms of mechanizations and so on. So now they are looking for more healthy food, and that's what we're doing. Yeah, and the market is quite appealing as well. Yeah.
No, wonderful. I'm glad that you touched on a global change, and at times global change can wreak havoc. What measures have been put in place for farmers, which you are aware of in Mozambique, in support of farmers, which are given out by government?
Well, the government is giving a lot of support to the farmers. They are really caring about the farmers. Unfortunately, Mozambique is facing some, financial challenges, which is not really being able to provide the number of, for instance, field technicians that they would like to. For instance, the current ratio of a field technician to the farmers is quite huge, and there is a need of reduce this ratio to a lower, affordable, or at least more meaningful and feasible, rates. Currently, in Mozambique, it's about 1 to 1,000 farmers, which is not a good one. But I believe that it's possible to reduce, but it needs, of course, more investment from the government. And of course, they're doing what they can do at the moment to really improve that, to mitigate the issue of, deficit in terms of agronomical technical assistance to the farmers.
Mm-hmm. No, I see. Francisco, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. This is where I have to stop it.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours. That was Francisco Nahale, country manager in Mozambique at Solidaridad.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kuduli bwanji ndi Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
For a look now at the latest business and financial markets developments, we are joined on the line by Lindile Malchus, investment strategist at Absa Investment. Good afternoon, Lindile. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Thabiso. I'm good. Thanks yourself.
I'm great. Thank you. I'm sitting here with a number of talking points, and I'd like you to gladly take us through them. And on the markets front, unpack the latest performance of global and local markets.
So, in terms of market performance, we are seeing performance still a bit mixed. European and Asian equities are up. Then we are seeing on the UK front that is down. And then looking at our local equities, so the Aussie is struggling a bit today, and you are seeing that being with losses in industrials and financials. So those down about close to 1% so far today. And then resources partially offsetting that. So resources up about 1.2%. We are halfway through the year, and when you look at the numbers so far, our local markets have actually delivered very strong returns. So they've brushed off some of the trade tensions we've seen, some of the political tensions we've seen, and as well as lower economic growth. So local markets have really delivered strong performance. And then looking at the rand, it has lost a bit of steam today, trading around 17 rand 66. However, it is in a stronger position compared to how it started the year.
Let's move now to the global economic outlook, the economy, US and South Africa. What should markets look out in terms of economic data releases this week?
Yes, so from an economics point of view, some of the data that we are expecting this week had already been released. However, looking forward, I think the key thing markets will be looking out for from a local and global perspective will be the U.S. unemployment figures. So that is something that the Fed watches quite closely, and it does inform their policy. So markets are expecting U.S. unemployment to tick up slightly. And then some of the other things that markets will be looking at will be purchasing manager indices. Those typically measure economic activity, and we are expecting the final prints of those across the various economies.
On company releases, Lindile, can you unpack Exxaro's latest trading statement and explain the key highlights there?
Yes, so Exxaro did come out with a pre-close update for the first half. Certainly not a great set of results. So we're seeing they're anticipating a decline within their coal production around the high single digits, and also expecting a high single digit reduction within their volumes. And they are saying that this is primarily due to reduced demand from Eskom. Eskom is one of their bigger customers. And then if you're reading through across the company, there is some of the headwinds that they're facing. So still facing headwinds from Transnet and some of the rail infrastructure there. So that being interrupted by disruptions. So things such as cable theft, power outages, and infrastructure decay. So that's speaking to some of the things that are external to the company. And then from an operational perspective, they are also expecting coal prices to come in a bit lower this year. So that's certainly not a good outlook for them. Did see markets reacting. The reaction was a bit more muted, so down about 0.3% on the day. And we are seeing the share price, it's trading lower year to date so far.
Lindile, headwinds seem to be all over nowadays. We must just pray for better days. Thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Thabiso, and great to chat on markets. Cheers.
Cheers.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
This is Channel Africa. My name is Thabiso Lehoko. I'm standing in for Tami Ngubeni on Africa in Business. Remember, we are broadcasting live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV OWK channel 802, on OpenView on Channel Africa, channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Google and Apple Play Stores.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa One. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa One. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatam.
Should influencers be expected to be impactful in society? If there is a social or societal conversation that goes up, should we be waiting eagerly to hear what the influencers have to say?
They are more than just entertainers. They are thought leaders to some certain degree. They influence culture. They influence people's thought processes. They set trends. They shape opinions of people. And the sad reality is, although a lot of them don't want to accept it, I think we're getting better with them realizing that embarking in that journey and in that space comes with a certain level of responsibility.
I see it differently in that, professionals are already good at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the move. African enterprise meets global opportunity. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
It's time now for Vue d'Afrique with Joanne.
Thabiso, merci, bonjour.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonjour à tous les auditeurs de Channel Africa. Alors sur Vue d'Afrique, tout à l'heure, il sera question de la RDC. Quelle réponse de l'opposition à la main tendue du président Tshisekedi? Et nous irons aussi au Gabon pour parler de l'ex-président Ali Bongo Ondimba, entendu mardi à Paris, mais également des milliers de réfugiés soudanais menacés par la faim, selon le Programme alimentaire mondial, PAM. C'est tout à l'heure sur Vue d'Afrique. Merci de rester connecté. Merci Thabiso.
Merci Joanne. And that's where African business leaves it. I'm Thabiso Lehoko. Let's do it again tomorrow. Goodbye.